My son was standing at the end of the conference table when he said, "Dad, you're too old to run the shop, and everybody here knows it." The other people in the room looked at the payroll report in my hands, the one showing that money had been withheld from 22 employees' checks and never reached their retirement accounts. I was 63 years old. I had run Hale and Son Printing since my father handed me the keys in 1994. Aaron was my only child, my chief operating officer, and the man I had spent 10 years preparing to take my place. He thought that made me sentimental. He thought it made me slow. What he didn't know was that I had already found 2 false approvals. What I still did not know was how much of the company he had built his plan around, and our 40th anniversary celebration was less than 2 days away. If you have ever been mistaken for weak simply because you stayed calm, you will understand why I folded the report, laid it on the table, and let him keep talking. Earlier that week, Hale and Son Printing sat in a low brick building behind the old freight depot in Bellwether, Ohio. It was not a glamorous business. We printed hospital forms, restaurant menus, union handbooks, cartons for a local candle company, and every kind of mailing piece people claim they throw away without reading. My father, Joseph Hale, started the shop in 1986 with one used press and a second-hand paper cutter that shook hard enough to rattle the windows. I joined him after 2 years at community college and never left. The company name had always been singular, Hale and Son, because in those days the son was me. When Aaron came aboard at 26, he stood under the faded sign and said, "Good. We don't even have to pay for new letters." That was Aaron then. Quick, funny, able to make an exhausted pressman laugh at the end of a 12-hour run. His mother Claire used to say he could sell shade to a maple tree. Aaron brought in regional accounts I would never have chased and understood the digital side of printing better than I did. I understood paper grain ink density delivery schedules and the sound a press made half a second before a bearing failed. Aaron understood presentation. Together we were supposed to make the business last another generation. Claire died 6 years before the payroll report landed in my hands. After Claire died, Aaron came by every Sunday with bagels and a yellow legal pad asking what he could take off my shoulders. "Let me carry more," he said one Sunday. "You don't have to prove anything to anybody." I believed him. I gave Aaron more authority and steps. First purchasing, then sales contracts under $50,000, then hiring decisions. 2 years ago, I made him chief operating officer and transferred 20% of the company's shares to him under a buy-sell agreement Denise Porter had written when she was still our controller. I kept 80% and remained president. That arrangement was not a secret. It was not a technicality hidden in a drawer. Aaron signed the agreement. He sat beside me and Denise in the conference room while she explained that management authority could grow faster than ownership. But ownership still mattered when debt property benefit plans or a sale of the company were involved. 2 signatures, Denise said, tapping the page. Martin's and either mine or the outside accountant's. No exceptions for retirement funds. No exceptions for a sale. Aaron smiled and said, "You know, Dad, he still wants carbon copies." I did. I still do. Every morning I arrived before 7, sharpened a red grease pencil with the small knife I carried, and reviewed the previous day's job tickets on paper. Aaron had moved almost everything else into software, but I kept one old habit. Any unusual expenditure, rush freight charge, customer credit, or delayed payment, got a red mark and my initials. Aaron called it my museum tour. The payroll report came to me by accident. 3 days before the party on Wednesday morning in early October, Gwen Ellis from accounting stopped me beside the folding machine. She had a white envelope tucked against her chest. "Martin, do you have a minute?" she asked. Gwen had worked for us for 17 years and was usually unflappable. That morning, she looked frightened. We went into my office. She closed the door. Our payroll company changed its reconciliation format, she said. I was checking the year-to-date totals before the quarter closed. She handed me a report. At first, I saw columns: gross wages, federal withholding, insurance, employee retirement deferrals, employer match. Then I saw a blank space where the retirement transfer confirmations should have been. How many pay periods? I asked. Gwen swallowed. 11. I looked up. That can't be right. That's what I thought. Did the custodian change account numbers? No. Did we change providers? No. Then where did the money go? She pressed her lips together. I asked Aaron yesterday. He said you approved a temporary suspension of remittances while the new digital line stabilized. I stared at her. The digital line was Aaron's pride. It was behind its original projections, but his monthly reports showed steady growth. I approved no such thing, I said. Gwen's face changed. Not surprise. Relief mixed with fear. She had been hoping I would say that and dreading it. The total employee money missing was just under $93,000. That did not include the company match or the earnings those contributions should have made. The most painful part was not the size of the number. It was the names beneath it. Luis Ortega retiring in 6 weeks. Gwen, Deshawn, young workers who had trusted my advice to start saving early. Their money had been taken out. Their pay stubs said it was safe. It was not safe. I felt heat climb from my collar to my face. My first instinct was to call Aaron into my office and demand an answer. That would have felt honest. It would also have been foolish. If this was an accounting error, a public confrontation could destroy trust for no reason. If it was deliberate warning, Aaron would give him time to move records, change stories, or pressure Gwen. So I made my first decision. Do not ask him another question, I told her. Do not email anyone about this from your work account. Print the payroll reports for all 11 periods and put them in the old tax archive cabinet. Then go back to your desk and behave normally. Gwen nodded, but she did not move. Are people going to lose their money? She asked. No, I said. I did not yet know how I would keep that promise. I only knew I had made it. I called Denise Porter from my car in the back lot. Denise had retired after 34 years with us and now advised small manufacturers on payroll controls and benefit plans. When she answered, I said, I need you to look at something and I need you not to call Aaron. There was a pause. That sentence tells me I should bring my glasses and my bad attitude, she said. Where? We met in a library study room that afternoon. She reviewed the reports in silence. She worked without speaking for nearly 20 minutes. Finally, she asked, who has authority to release the retirement transfer file? Gwen prepares it. Aaron or I approve it. And the bank transfer. Same. Did you approve any of these? No. She turned the report toward me and pointed at a code printed beside each missing confirmation. Someone did not merely forget to send the money. The transfer batch was changed from release to hold. Can you tell who? Not from this report. Can Aaron? Yes. I leaned back in the plastic chair. Denise studied me over the top of her glasses. You need counsel before you touch the system. You also need the plan administrator notified. And Martin, do not use company email. I nodded. This may be fixable, she said. But employee contributions are never operating cash. Not even temporarily. I know. Does Aaron? He signed the policy. Knowing a rule and respecting it are different things. That evening, I sat alone at my kitchen table with the yellow legal pad Aaron used to bring on Sundays. There were still 3 blank pads in the drawer. I took one out and wrote 4 headings. Employees. Evidence. Access. Sale. The last word came from a conversation I had almost dismissed 2 weeks earlier. Aaron had insisted on turning the anniversary dinner into a major event, complete with a presentation called The Next 40 Years. When I asked why, he said, "For people to see where we're going." I assumed he meant customers. Now I wrote sale on the pad and circled it. The next morning I called Aaron Walsh, an attorney Denise trusted. Aaron specialized in employment benefits and closely held companies. I told her the facts I knew and nothing I merely suspected. She confirmed that the pay stubs showed the deductions, that records might be altered, and that I had authority as president to secure company systems. Then do not seize his laptop in the middle of the floor. We preserve data without creating a circus. Under our existing IT contract, the company's email accounting logs and shared drives were preserved that night. No personal accounts were touched. I authorized it. That was my second decision. My third was harder. The company had enough reserves and unused credit to make the employees whole, but using them would leave us dangerously thin. Aaron told me not to move a dollar until the plan administrator gave written instructions. "But can it be made whole?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "With correction documentation and likely additional cost. The employees should not carry the loss." "Then that is what we do." I still had not confronted Aaron. For the next day, I watched him move through the shop as if nothing had happened. He moved through the shop, joking with employees, then brought a sample box into my office. "Northline loved this," he said. "Northline." He hesitated only a fraction of a second. "Northline Outdoor. The sporting goods account." I knew that account. It was called Northern Trail Outfitters. "Right," I said. Aaron picked up the red grease pencil beside my job tickets and rolled it between his fingers. "You know, after Saturday we should talk about clearing some of this paper out," he said. "It sends the wrong message." "To whom?" "Visitors. Potential partners. People want to know we're modern." He put the pencil down and smiled. "Don't worry, I'm not throwing away your history." Then he left. I waited until the door shut before writing Northline on my legal pad. The system backup finished before dawn Friday. Aaron and a forensic accountant reviewed only company records related to payroll banking, the digital division, and proposed transactions. By noon, the apparent problem became deliberate. There were 11 electronic approvals placing retirement transfers on hold. All 11 had been made using Aaron's credentials. That alone was not enough. An officer could argue he had authority. Then we found the email. Aaron had written to our payroll service 5 months earlier, per Martin's direction, suspend retirement remittance batches until further notice. Continue deductions and reporting as normal. We will release accumulated funds after seasonal receivables clear. The payroll representative had replied asking for written confirmation, because the instruction was outside normal procedure. Aaron attached a 1-page corporate resolution. It carried a scan of my signature. Below mine was the name Denise Porter, Corporate Secretary. Denise had not been Corporate Secretary for 18 months. The resolution claimed a May 14th board meeting. I had been in Cincinnati and Aaron in Chicago. No meeting had occurred. When I showed Denise the page, she stared at her printed name for several seconds. "He used the old template," she said. "Can he claim it was a clerical mistake?" "He can call it clerical," Denise said, "but that will not make it true." I recognized the signature as a scan from a 2022 equipment lease stored in our shared files. There is a particular pain in seeing your own name used against people who trust you. It makes the betrayal feel physical, as if someone borrowed your hand. The bank records explained where part of the money had gone. Aaron had used the delayed transfers to keep the operating balance high enough to satisfy the lender's cash covenant on the digital equipment. Then on 3 occasions, he moved company funds into an account labeled Northline Development LLC. Northline Development was not a customer. It was a company Aaron had formed 8 months earlier. Its second member worked for a national consolidator called Northline Graphics Group. Northline. The sample box on my desk suddenly meant something different. Aaron found a non-disclosure agreement in Aaron's company email, then a draft letter of intent. Northline Graphics wanted to buy us. Most of the price would cover debt. My payout would be delayed while Aaron would receive an immediate bonus and a 3-year management contract. He had represented that he controlled the company. He had also represented that I intended to retire because of increasing health and cognitive limitations. I read that sentence 3 times. He had turned my hearing aids and one forgotten software name into evidence that I was fading. Those facts had become the raw material for a story in which I was fading, and Aaron was rescuing the business from me. Attached to the draft was a transition schedule. The 40th anniversary celebration was listed as public leadership announcement. Saturday night. He had invited Northline executives, our bank manager, customers, and employees to watch him announce a strategic partnership that placed him in charge. He had authority to do none of it, not the sale, not my shares, not the use of employee money as a bridge. A public announcement could make an unauthorized deal feel finished and turn me into the confused old man ruining the rescue. That was the 3rd layer, and it hurt more than the money. This was older, wider, and more personal than a cash flow decision. Aaron was not only trying to save a struggling project, he was building a future that required me to become less credible than he was. Denise sat across from me in Aaron's conference room. Aaron had stepped out to take a call. "You need to ask yourself something," Denise said. "What? If Claire were here, what would she tell you to stop doing?" I looked at her. Denise did not blink. Claire had understood my worst habit. When conflict became personal, I waited and called it patience. After she died, I excused every hard edge in Aaron as grief, confidence, or leadership. I had mistaken the absence of boundaries for love. "I'm done waiting," I said. Aaron came back into the room. "The plan administrator confirmed a correction process," she said. "We can restore the money and earnings, but we must self-report and cooperate with review." "Do it." "There is another issue." Northline's counsel responded to my preservation notice. "They say Aaron provided a signed consent from you authorizing negotiations." I signed nothing. "I know. They sent a copy." She placed it on the table. It was not the same false resolution used for payroll. This document was a scanned page from a shareholder consent packet. My signature appeared at the bottom. Above it, the text authorized Aaron to negotiate a sale and present a final agreement. I examined the page. The signature was mine. Not a copy, at least not obviously. For the first time since Monday, I felt uncertain. Then I noticed 2 small holes along the left edge. I asked Aaron for the original file. She turned her laptop toward me. The scan showed faint red marks cut off at the top. I knew that page. 3 months earlier, Aaron had brought me our insurance renewal. I signed the packet after marking a wrong deductible in red grease pencil. One of the signature pages had been removed from that packet and placed behind new text. He separated the signature page. I said, "Can you prove that Aaron asked?" "I keep the paper packet." Aaron had mocked my paper files for years. This time they mattered. After closing, we found the paper packet. The staple holes aligned, and the page before my signature ended mid-sentence because one sheet was missing. My red marks matched the clipped marks on Northline's scan. Earlier clues took on new meaning. Aaron touching the grease pencil, asking about clearing paper records, pushing me to modernize before Saturday. He had not been embarrassed by my old system. He had been afraid of it. Aaron preserved the packet with Gwen as witness. There was nothing to celebrate. By Friday afternoon, we had enough to act. I called a special board and shareholder meeting. The outside accountant joined by video, and Aaron attended as counsel. Aaron walked into the conference room carrying his tablet. "What is this?" he asked. "Sit down." He looked at Aaron, then at the accountant on the screen. "Is this about the anniversary budget?" "No." He sat slowly. "Effective immediately, your authority over payroll banking benefits, contracts, and company systems is suspended pending investigation." Aaron stared at me, then laughed once. "You can't be serious." "I am." He stood and pointed toward the shop floor. "Dad, you're too old to run the shop, and everybody here knows it. I folded the payroll report once and laid it on the table, then explained why 22 employees' money is missing. His expression tightened. On what basis are you suspending me? Unauthorized retirement plan holds false corporate approvals transfers to Northline Development and misrepresentation of company ownership. His face lost color, but his voice stayed controlled. You went through my email. Company records were preserved under our IT agreement. You're panicking because you don't understand the transaction. You used my signature. I used authority you gave me. I did not authorize a sale. You authorized me to negotiate. No. Aaron leaned back and looked at Aaron. This is exactly what I warned Northline about. He forgets conversations. He signs things and then gets suspicious later. There it was, the defense he had prepared, not a denial, a diagnosis. He turned to me with a practiced sadness that was worse than anger. Dad, I was protecting you. Northline keeps the employees, pays the bank, and gives you retirement income. You should be thanking me. What about the employee contributions, I asked. A temporary timing issue. Why did you claim I ordered it? Because you did. When? At the house. Sunday morning. You said do whatever it takes to get through the quarter. I remembered saying, do what it takes to make the sales plan work. Aaron had stretched that sentence across a crime-shaped hole. You know I did not authorize using employee money, I said. You knew cash was tight. I knew the line was behind plan. Your reports showed it improving. It was improving. Then why did you need their money? He looked away for the first time. The outside accountant spoke from the screen. Aaron, the division reports included receivables that had already been deemed uncollectible. We have verified that. Aaron's jaw tightened. I continued. Northline's proposed management bonus to you was not disclosed to me. That is standard. Your side company was not disclosed. That was for consulting after close. Before close, it received company funds. They were reimbursable development expenses, not approved. You are making this sound criminal because you are scared to retire. The words landed. He meant them to. For a second, I saw him at 12 cleaning ink rollers while Claire called us to dinner. Then I saw every responsibility I had handed him. Then I looked at the man in front of me. Love did not require me to pretend he was still 12. The anniversary event will continue, I said. Aaron blinked. What? Luis deserves his retirement recognition. The employees deserve the dinner we promised. You can't run that event without my presentation. We will manage. He pushed back his chair. You're going to stand in front of everyone and explain why the future disappeared. No, I said. You are. Aaron raised a hand before he could respond. Do not alter or remove company records, Aaron said. Further access will be arranged through counsel. Aaron looked at me as if I had struck him. You're firing your own son 2 days before the anniversary. I am suspending an officer who used money belonging to employees. I saved this company. You endangered it. He gathered his tablet, but our IT provider had already disabled company access. The screen refreshed. His email vanished. He stared at it, then at me. For the first time, he looked afraid. When Northline walks, the bank will tighten the line, he said. You'll be done in 6 months. That may be true, I said. But their money will be back before mine is safe. He left without another word. That should have been the end of his ability to act. It was not. Aaron still owned 20% and had relationships throughout the business. His story was ready. An aging father had destroyed a rescue deal out of pride. By noon, 3 supervisors had received text messages from him. He texted supervisors that he had been removed for raising concerns about my health. Then our largest customer questioned my competence and the bank requested a meeting. Aaron had lost access, but he had not lost his voice. I wanted to send a furious email, but we needed a complete correction plan first. So I protected the vulnerable people first. The plan administrator opened a correction account. I authorized the restoration, and the bank kept our line open after I personally guaranteed a temporary increase. That guarantee put my house at risk. Aaron asked twice whether I understood. I do, I said. You are not required to solve all of this with your own balance sheet. I am required to keep my promise while we pursue recovery. We prepared plain written notices for every affected employee. Then I called Luis. He met me in the shipping bay after his shift. He had worked beside my father and me for 31 years. I need to tell you something before Saturday, I said. When I finished, he leaned against a pallet and looked at the floor. My money too, he asked. Yes. How long? 11 pay periods. Will it be restored? Yes, the process has started. He nodded once. Did Aaron do it? The records show he authorized the holds and used false approvals. He says I permitted a temporary delay. I did not. Luis rubbed his thumb across an old cut on his palm. Luis looked at me. You still want the party. I want your retirement recognized. I will not let his choices take that too. You think people will come? Yes. You think he will? I don't know. Luis gave a tired smile. He will. Aaron never misses a room where he thinks he can win. He was right. Saturday evening, we shut the presses down at 5. Folding tables filled the center of the production floor. White cloths covered the ink stains nobody could scrub out. Gwen arranged photographs from 4 decades along the wall, my father beside the first press, Claire handing out Christmas envelopes, Aaron in a paper hat at age 9, Luis holding a retirement cake someone had ordered too early as a joke. The old company sign hung above the loading doors, Hale and Son Printing. For years, I had thought the word son was a promise. That night, it felt like a question. Employees arrived with spouses. Customers shook my hand. The bank manager came. 2 representatives from Northline Graphics stood near the back, both looking uncomfortable. Their counsel had advised them not to participate in any announcement, but they had already traveled and chose to attend the dinner as observers. Denise sat beside Gwen. Aaron sat near the aisle with a closed folder on her lap. On the small stage, Aaron's glossy presentation booklets had been removed. In their place was a single-framed job ticket from 1986, the first order my father ever completed. At 6:20, Aaron walked through the side door. He wore a dark suit. His wife Jenna was not with him. Conversation thinned around the room. Aaron stopped when he saw Denise. Then he saw Aaron. Then he looked toward the Northline representatives who did not move to greet him. His eyes found the empty space where his next 40 years banner had been. That was the first moment he understood the room did not belong to his version of the story. He came straight toward me. You invited counsel to a retirement dinner, he asked under his breath. You invited buyers to one. They're partners. They are not. Aaron glanced around. What did you tell everyone? Only what I can prove. His mouth tightened. You're going to humiliate yourself. No, I said. I'm going to honor Luis. We ate first. That was deliberate. People deserved food before bad news. Luis's wife had brought their grandchildren. Deshawn gave a speech about the time Luis caught a misfeed by sound from across the room. Gwen presented him with a bound book of photographs. We laughed. Luis cried and blamed the onions in the salad. For 20 minutes, the company was what I wanted it to be. Then I stood at the microphone. The room settled. My father started this shop 40 years ago, I said. He believed 2 things. A job should be done right, and a paycheck should mean what it says. I saw Aaron shift near the side wall. This week, I learned that for 11 pay periods, employee retirement deductions were withheld, but not transferred to the plan custodian. Nobody moved. A fork touched a plate somewhere in the back. I also learned that company records were used to show approvals I did not give. Aaron stepped forward. Dad, stop. I looked at him. This is not the place, he said loudly. It became the place when you scheduled a leadership announcement here. Murmurs moved through the room. Aaron turned toward the employees. There is a cash flow dispute, he said. That is all. The funds were delayed to protect jobs during a sale that would have secured this company's future. Were the employees told, I asked? He looked back at me. Were they asked to lend the company their retirement money? That is not how corporate finance works. It is exactly how consent works. Aaron's face hardened. You approved the delay. There it was, his strongest excuse now spoken in front of the people whose money had been used. I nodded to Denise. She stood holding a copy of the false resolution. This document was submitted to the payroll provider, she said. It says Martin Hale and I approved suspending retirement remittances at a board meeting on May 14th. She looked around the room. I retired 18 months ago. I was not corporate secretary on May 14th. I did not sign this document, and no such meeting occurred. Aaron pointed at the paper. That was an old template. Administrative error. Aaron opened her folder. The attached approval also contains a scanned signature, taken from a prior equipment lease, she said. A separate sale authorization used a signature page removed from an insurance packet. The original packet, including matching staple holes and grease pencil marks, has been preserved. Several faces turned toward the red pencil lying beside the framed job ticket on the stage table. Aaron saw it too. Months of jokes about my paper files ended in that glance. He looked toward the Northline representatives. This is a family dispute, he said. You have the projections. You know the deal saves the plant. The older representative, a woman named Sandra Cho, stood. Northline has withdrawn from discussions, she said. We were not informed that Mr. Martin Hale disputed the transaction authority, and we will not proceed. Aaron's shoulders dropped a fraction. The power he thought he controlled disappeared in pieces. First the sale, then the management contract, then the story that I had agreed and forgotten. I continued. The company has begun restoring all missing employee contributions, matching funds and calculated earnings through the plan administrator. Each affected employee will receive written information Monday. The company has self-reported the issue and will cooperate with every required review. Gwen began to cry quietly. Deshawn reached over and covered her hand. The bank has confirmed our operating line, I said. Customer orders will continue. No employee is being asked to sign a new contract tonight. No one's job changes because of a sale because there is no sale. Aaron came closer to the stage. You guaranteed the line, didn't you? He said. I did not answer. His eyes narrowed. He knew me well enough to understand. You put your house up to cover this. I put the employees first. You're risking everything because you can't admit I was right about the business. This is not about whether the digital line was a good idea. It has always been about that. You wanted me to lead until I led somewhere you did not choose. He sounded wounded, and part of him was. That was what made it harder. Aaron had real talent. He had brought real growth. He had also decided that talent entitled him to use other people as temporary collateral. You could have come to me, I said. You would have said no. Yes, the honesty of that answer silenced him. He laughed bitterly. Exactly. You asked yourself the wrong question, I said. You asked whether I would allow it. You should have asked whether it was yours to take. His eyes moved across the room, the employees, the buyers, Denise, the old photographs, the sign with his place already written into it. I stepped down from the stage so I was not speaking over him. Then I gave him the only sentence I had carried into the room. I gave you room to lead, Aaron. I never gave you room to take. He stood still. No one applauded. I was grateful for that. This was not a performance where one man won and another vanished. It was a family breaking in public because private truth had become too dangerous to hide. Aaron looked at Luis. Did you know about this? He asked. Luis nodded. And you believe him? I believe my pay stub, Luis said. And I believe the money wasn't where it said. Aaron looked toward Gwen. She wiped her eyes. You told me Martin approved it. He did. No, I said. I did not. Aaron opened his mouth, then closed it. His defense had nowhere left to go. The false resolution was not a misunderstanding. The removed signature page was not a forgotten conversation. The side company was not a clerical error. The management bonus was not a gift to the employees. He picked up his coat from the back of a chair. At the side door he turned. When this place fails, he said, do not tell yourself I did it. I met his eyes. If it fails honestly, that will be mine to carry. Then he left. The door closed with the soft hydraulic hiss it had made 10,000 times before. Somehow that ordinary sound was the hardest part of the night. No one knew what to do next, so Luis did what men like Luis have always done when a room becomes too heavy. He pointed at his retirement cake and said I was promised a second piece. People laughed because they needed permission. We cut the cake. The aftermath took months, not minutes. On Monday, every affected employee received a written notice and direct access to the plan administrator. The restored contributions appeared in stages as calculations were completed. The company paid additional earnings, professional fees, and penalties. We cooperated with a federal benefits review and with our insurer. I will not pretend those meetings were easy. They were not. Some employees were furious with me. They had a right to be. I trusted Aaron was an explanation, not an excuse. I met with every shift. I answered what I could. When I did not know, I said so. When the answer made me look negligent, I gave it anyway. 3 employees left within 2 months. 2 came back later. 1 did not. The bank kept the line open, but the digital division had to be reduced. We sold 1 finishing machine and subleased part of the warehouse Aaron had arranged. I delayed my own retirement indefinitely, though I stopped pretending that working forever was a succession plan. Denise helped us hire a new controller with authority independent of operations. Gwen was promoted to payroll manager and no longer reported to a single executive. Every benefit transfer required documented dual approval visible to the outside accountant. The red grease pencil stayed, but it was no longer the only control standing between trust and disaster. Aaron hired a lawyer. Through mediation, he argued that he had acted to preserve the company and expected the sale proceeds to replace the funds before employees suffered harm. He said my informal language had created reasonable authority. He said the false documents were shortcuts, not theft. The evidence answered him. He had created a board meeting that never happened. He had used Denise's name after her retirement. He had removed a signed page from an insurance packet. He had moved company money to an undisclosed side entity. He had negotiated a personal bonus while telling employees the deal was for them. We did not get an instant courtroom victory. We did not need one. After 6 months, we reached a civil settlement. Aaron surrendered his company shares under the misconduct provisions of the buy-sell agreement. The value was applied against losses and costs, with a structured personal repayment for the remainder. He agreed not to represent himself as an officer of Hale and Son, and not to contact employees about company business. Separate agencies made their own decisions on their own schedules based on the records. I did not ask for revenge beyond repair. I did not ask to ruin his marriage, take his home, or keep him from working. I wanted the employees made whole, the false authority ended, and the company protected from another round of pressure. Jenna called me once during the mediation period. He says you chose strangers over your son, she said. They are not strangers, I replied. And he chose their money before I chose anything. She was quiet. Do you still love him? That question was harder than every legal one. Yes, I said. Love is why I will not help him lie about what he did. Aaron and I did not speak for almost a year. Real estrangement is quiet. Birthdays pass. You hear that your son took a job in another state and pretend the information is only information. I wrote him one letter. I wrote about the first time he ran a press alone and stopped it because the color was wrong, though the customer would never have noticed. You knew then, I wrote, that unseen mistakes still matter. I ended the letter by saying my door was open for truth, not for revision. He did not answer. Then, 14 months after the anniversary dinner, a small package arrived at the shop. Inside was the red grease pencil Aaron had picked up from my desk that week. I had not realized it was missing. There was no apology, only a note with 6 words. I knew what I was doing. I sat alone in my office for a long time. It was not enough. It was also the first honest sentence he had given me. I wrote back. Then start there. Luis still came in on Thursdays to criticize our paper storage. In the anniversary photograph, he holds his cake knife like a trophy. Aaron is absent because he had already left. For months, I could not look at the empty space near the side door. Now I can. The company survived, smaller and steadier. Deshawn took over production, Gwen later became controller, and a leadership council replaced one person's unchecked confidence. No one inherited trust automatically anymore. On my 65th birthday, I came in early and found a new sign leaning against the conference room wall. The employees had paid for it themselves. It did not say Hale and Son. It said Hale Printworks, established 1986. At first, the missing word hurt. Then Gwen handed me a red grease pencil. Your approval, she said. I walked to the wall where the old sign had hung for 40 years. I thought about my father, Claire Aaron, as a boy Luis at the press, and 22 people opening retirement statements that finally matched their pay stubs. Then I marked the back of the new sign with one red line and my initials. A family name can begin a business. Only shared honesty can keep it alive. If this story stayed with you, subscribe and tell me in the comments, when does patience become permission?